what's up everyone, it's Iskander here. Welcome back to Tech Pulse. In this video, we're going to cover the SUI project once again, its growing ecosystem of key projects building on top of SUI. As always, anything we say in this video is not financial advice and for education and entertainment purposes. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. You can join our free Discord group via the attached link. So, as I said, we're going to be covering the SUI project by all sort of consensus. It's a darling blockchain layer one of the cycle. It's got a lot of attention, huge investment, over I think 300-400 million behind it. Obviously, the team behind it, some of the greatest talent in Web3. They come from Facebook originally, so they've effectively spun off as a team and started SUI. So it's a really exciting project to invest in and follow going forward, and we'll be covering it more on Tech Pulse going forward. So you can jump into this particular site and see the whole ecosystem, how it's tracking. You can see that, it's got amazing speed in terms of the number of transactions and settlement time of 400 milliseconds. So it's notably quicker than Solana. Just the whole user experience of basic wallet transfers and swaps. Alright, so first what we'll do is we'll cover a bit of news, what's happening on SUI.
Our thesis has always been, we are going to focus our effort on building platforms and protocols to make the internet more decentralized and more accessible for everybody. So it started with SUI, then with SUI NS, then with Walrus, and of course there'll be more systems built over the lifespan of the company, with Suilend coming up soon as well. So the gaps are obvious for us, and our ethos is always open systems. Build them open source, make it open communication, don't lock things down. Now that means any wallet can communicate with any wallet, any app can communicate with any app. I can send an email and receive it in any application I want. My wallet can receive mail. If I receive an email from Aftermath or Navi or Certus or Turbos or whatever, I can receive mail directly from the node that's authenticated. So DeFi protocols cannot communicate with their holders directly using the system. This is what the internet is meant to be. So we don't have to count on centralized systems anymore. We have much more powerful decentralized systems that affords more convenience and control for consumers.
So Adonai put it really well there. He's the chief product officer behind SUI. Effectively, they're rewriting the internet with SUI using cutting-edge Web 3.0 technology, decentralized systems. So think about it, like all of the infrastructure, the basic, like the messaging layer, the TCP/IP protocol. For example, that's going to be enabled by SUI, so you'll be able to do things like phone calls, transfers, play games, buy tickets, use the standard payment system using the SUI network. And that's being enabled with a series of foundational building blocks. So it's a highly composable architecture. We've got projects like Walrus, which is the storage, cloud storage solution, decentralized solution for storing NFTs, etc. We've got Deepbook, which is the order book, and there'll be more to come. So it's very exciting what they're building. It's obviously a grand vision, which is why I think SUI is here to stay, and it'll be a multi-cycle platform, and I think it will challenge some of the biggest projects such as Solana, Ethereum, and potentially even displace them in the top 3, top 5. So hopefully that made it clear. Here's another interesting video from Adonai where he talks about the broader vision potential.
SUI is going to be in top 10. I'm not really worried about that. I think generally, if you look at it, right, like we went from in the top 100 to the top 20, and I think the market is starting to realize, the institutions are starting to realize, a lot of funds are starting to be launched related to SUI. I think my view is long-term SUI becomes a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. That's the goal. That's where we're going. We don't care about where we are now. We know where we want to be. And if you can actually be the layer that coordinates the actions or the interactions of users on chain in a way that's very private and very flexible, we think that's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, rather than just letting people trade, crypto as a whole. So we believe Deepbook ultimately will eventually let you trade equities, will let you trade bonds, will let you trade a lot of other synthetic-related assets directly on chain. SUI is the only infrastructure that gives you that level of scale. It's the highest throughput, lowest latency, most secure, most robust, and it scales horizontally. No other blockchain in the Web3 space has a horizontal scalability story. They all expect you to scale with Moore's law. That doesn't make sense, and that's not how you build infrastructure. We've been building infrastructure for billions of users for decades, and we know how to do it really, really well. There's nothing you can't build, there's nothing you can build on Sol, Aptos, or any other chain that you can't build on SUI. But I think the opposite is different. There are things that you can build on SUI you can't build anywhere else.
So that's, again, just to quickly recap what Adonai said there. It's $1 trillion opportunity. That's how big the vision is when you consider all of the use cases that SUI will address. Once again, they've got the best team around it. They're building it piece by piece, and we'll see it grow. We can already see the signs that it's getting there. It's making the right steps. It's got huge backing funding behind it to execute on that vision. So just to jump into the DeFi Llama, which is an interesting DeFi-based analytical tool. So for SUI specifically, the whole ecosystem we can see here, the TVL is about 1.76 billion, and it's consistent with the price performance and the whole crypto market in terms of the investment and the flow of liquidity into the system and other systems, right? So obviously, if I give you an example, the tariff wars and the last 3-4 months of the shitstorm that it caused across the equities, that you can see that's in the TVL, right? So people became risk averse, panicked. There's been a lot of FUD, and pulled the funds, and now it's back up again. It's had a huge correction, and TVL reflects that. And I think we'll see TVL grow. It will capture that, substantially out of other chains, such as, I'd love to see it capture out of Solana. Obviously, that's their direct competitor, and even out of Ethereum. And it's all really driven by users, and they place their money where they feel it's safest and gives them the greatest flexibility and addresses their needs, and that's reflected in this chart. There's DEX volume, so it's been kind of steady in 400 million fees paid. So highest fee protocol is Certus, DEX decentralized exchange. That's where all of the off-chain, on-chain swaps are being made. And then Bluefin is an interesting perpetuals DEX scallop, which is a DeFi tool. Stablecoin market is increasing. We're at 900 million, and that's set to grow even further. So in the top 10 in terms of the DeFi projects, we've got Suilend. So this project actually came across Solana. It used to be called Suilend, and then now it's called Save. And they've effectively replicated, created another instance of it on the SUI chain. They're extremely bullish on SUI. The team behind it is amazing. I use it personally for all aspects of DeFi, lending, borrowing against my SUI to reinvest into more SUI and things like that. And we'll get into some of the DeFi strategies going forward in future videos. It's got really good reward structure. Then there's Navi, they're trailing behind. Suilend's overtaking them. Certus, which is DEX, and then some of the other honorable mentions will be Bluefin, Deepbook, and then there's some really micro caps there. So we can see on CoinMarketCap, if we filter on the SUI ecosystem specifically, that you can filter on that. SUI itself is at 11 billion, I think at the highest point of 5.3 $5.30, it was about 15-16 billion, so it's had some retracement. Not sure why Bonk is on there. It's actually a Solana-based meme. Some of the key projects to call out here will be Walrus, so we'll cover that in a bit more detail, which is a storage protocol, Deepbook, Autobook protocol, Certus, DEX, SUI naming service. That's just basically a naming service for the SUI ecosystem, which I use extensively as well. There's some memes, obviously the Suilend project that's filtered based on market cap. And then there's more, so largely memes towards the back and some utility projects. So here's a great summary in terms of what the Q1 was like. So DEX volume surged to 45%. They introduced BTC into the ecosystem. Yes, you can trade and stack Bitcoin on SUI. Obviously, that's a great proposition. Rather than doing it on Bitcoin, you can do it safely and very quickly at lightning speed on SUI. It doesn't cost you $10 to do a Bitcoin transfer, right? It costs a fraction of a cent. Walrus mainnet dropped just about a month ago. That was a huge drop. We'll talk about this particular project and double down on some of the projects. So there's a Delphi Digital report which gets into some of the key outcomes and milestones achieved. This was an interesting update from Costas. So he's one of the, I believe, key contributors to the SUI project, but particularly around privacy and identity. So he's the brains of the architect behind the SUI authentication, cryptography, etc. So here's an example of a SUI transfer using SMS service. That's incredible, right? It's done quickly and without using internet on a crappy 3G network, for example. So this is the power of SUI and what you can do using the system. There's another interesting update here of as of sort of late April, SUI flipped Ethereum-based Tron, Solana, some of the largest chains in daily stablecoin transfer volume. That's exciting to see. Now, this is another major update. So Stacks is a huge project, which is like a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin. So it's coming to SUI and it's facilitating the whole aspect of Bitcoin liquidity for DeFi purposes on top of SUI. What that means is it opens up to opportunity to transfer $2 trillion in Bitcoin liquidity on top of SUI for so you can borrow and lend against Bitcoin. That's an interesting proposition. SUI Play, which is the Steam-like or Nintendo Switch-like device which was released. That's the prototype at the base camp in Dubai. So that's the beta version. They're already shipping it to some of the beta testers. You can see the device. It looks, ergonomic, user-friendly, and that's going to support SUI's venture into the gaming space, which is exciting. That's a multi-billion-dollar economy. The gaming on top of blockchain. You can enable a lot of really interesting use cases like NFTs and payments using the SUI network, and it'll support lightning speed gaming, which is what it requires. So that's a really, I think, cutting edge, and it's a first for a crypto chain to be launching a device of this type to compete and bring traditional gaming users into blockchain. Hasn't been done on any other chain like Solana, right? Solana, they have a mobile phone. The Chapter 2 just got released, which I'm participating in as well. But I'm more excited about this device here. And you can see what it looks like here. You're going to have lots of games, major AAA games launching on SUI. And on this device, there's been already lots of announcements in terms of some of the leading games moving across to SUI to take advantage of its speed, efficiency. Now, Suilend, which I briefly covered, I'm very excited about this project. I'm a massive, top 500 user in terms of wallets and DeFi transactions on Suilend myself. I've been using it for over 2 years now, extracting value out of my SUI stack and maximizing it, by effectively growing by staking it there, borrowing against it. You can do all sorts of things. They've made some major announcements in terms of Spring SUI, which is liquid staking, like a replica of SUI. You can now create in a permissionless manner SUI LSTs on top of SteamFi, so that's worth exploring further. Also, SteamFi launched one of the first few launch pads for basically creating SUI-based tokens on the fly easily through a basic interface. That opens up obviously a lot of potential for users, average users, to create tokens, launch tokens like memes in a relatively cost-efficient and a fast manner. So really exciting. There's an airdrop campaign too that's coming. I've been waiting for a good 6 months for this to come, and very excited to see what's going to happen. And Rootlets is a key NFT. It's a top 5 NFT project which was launched by Suilend team. If you hold one NFT, then you get an allocation of about 333 Send tokens from the Suilend team. This was a huge announcement from 21 Shares, one of the leading wealth managers to launch. They've recently submitted a SUI ETF registration statement, which requires obviously SEC approval, etc. So this is amazing, right? So we're already seeing projects like SUI venturing out into the TradFi and getting basically liquidity from traditional markets flowing into SUI for this particular channel. That's going to, once that's enabled and, by a SEC-friendly team now, and the commissioner is very crypto-friendly, I think this will come through. We're going to see more liquidity flow into SUI, to get to that $1 trillion mark, as Adonai explained. So looking just briefly at the SUI price performance. So we just the day after Basecamp, there's been a lot of news and the price has surged. It's holding steady. There's been, as of May 1st, pretty significant unlock for early investors, VCs, and hedge funds in their token allocations, and that price actually held relatively well. We might see it retrace to $3, but effectively that makes it a high. If it does retrace to 3, maybe it's just up below 3, might be worthwhile buying again for that sort of 3 to 5x upside. That wouldn't be a bad entry. And then looking at Walrus, like I mentioned before, this is the storage protocol. You can store NFTs, music, if you're a music production label, or a movie company, or just need to store, individual, just a person like you and I wanting to store some stuff on blockchain, you can use this. This is really cool. That's one of the building blocks for SUI within the broader vision of capturing the internet or reinventing the internet. So price performance has been great. It's been holding steady since its launch. It's I think if we look at lowest price point was about 7 cents. It's holding steady at 56. Highest was about 68. It's not a bad entry at this point, right? That's just flat, holding strong. I think based on what I've seen, they've got an application with Binance to list it. It'll be listed probably within the next 1 to 2 months. When it does, you can expect a huge surge. It'll just go whoop, double its value. Not a bad bit of alpha in terms of what's coming. So next one we've got Deepbook. very bullish on this project. I have a small allocation in this project as well as Walrus. Right at the start, I bought, when it launched, I bought a big chunk of it at about 5 cents. What was it? Yeah, 3 cents, about 5 cents here. Then I held it up to about 35. I sold most of it on the way down here because I knew it's highly reflexive and it's going to dump heavy, which it did. Then I picked up again more at 5 cents and I've sold about 50%. So I kept taking profit, and my strategy is basically to hold maybe 10% of the portfolio or allocation within the SUI ecosystem in the smaller projects like Deepbook and Walrus, and then take profits back into SUI to grow the SUI stack, because ultimately, that's the main token you want to accumulate over time. So yeah, this is effectively what it does. It supports deep liquidity in terms of smoother trades, smaller slippage. So it's almost like a centralized exchange type speed and efficiency. And you've got major projects already using it, like Certus is running on Turbos, is another DEX on SUI. So Suilend had been retracing quite a bit, launched at about $4. The high was about $4.10-20. I was one of the biggest. I received one of the biggest allocations, like in almost 6 figures. And it's it had they've had an interesting sort of setup, which is quite revolutionary in terms of you had your tokens, airdrop tokens, locked, and if you wanted to sell them, you had to basically pay substantial fees, penalties in SUI tokens, and obviously I had to hold it, and I've sold some of it here, but I've picked some up again. Very bullish on Suilend. It's the best DeFi project on top of SUI at this stage. Certus DEX, again, highly reflexive. Any DEXs can just pump and dump any given day. It's extremely risky, but it can also be extremely profitable if you buy at the lows at, example, 10 cents or 5 cents, and then sell at 50. That's a 10x, right? I think it'll from this point it'll probably, you could do another 5x easily. It's the main DEX, has the greatest volume as per DeFi Llama, 143 million. Can you imagine if SUI gets to 80 billion, like Solana, how much this will be worth? Like it'll be in the billions, I think. Probably 20x potential. Bluefin is the other. If you love perpetuals, this is the perpetuals DEX, completely distributed. Lots of volume on this particular project as well. I've held some. I've received a chunky airdrop as well, which I love. I've sold it whole, so I don't hold it in Bluefin tokens at this stage. And then SUI naming service. I've got a few domains registered on the naming service. That's a core piece of infrastructure on SUI. And a key building block for them, because it's like a web domain system. You can register a domain name for a wallet, for example, a website, Walrus website, like a Scandal or TechPulse, for example, and then users can transfer to the name rather than remembering the wallet, long wallet address. So it improves usability. Now, looking at SUI against Solana, they call it, the Solana killer. I don't know if that's going to happen this cycle. Probably in the next one, based on its vision. I think it'll surpass Sol and Ethereum and stand probably market's place as potentially the second or third in the rank across all of crypto. So here we can see market cap of SUI against Solana at its current price, a market cap of about 76 billion. It's $22, at all-time high when Solana got to about 127 when Trump launched his Trump meme token was 38. It would have been about 38. So I think this cycle, we could say conservatively, could be between 50 and 80 billion. If we go Polkadot, that was such a nothing burger project in the end that just dumped. Nobody wants to hold anymore. But at all-time high, which was about 56 billion, we could see SUI get to 16. So from here, that's about, what is that, 6x, 5x, yeah. But yeah, if you want to be more bullish, you know, it could be Solana, Cardano, XRP. Let's look at the XRP. So current price, market cap 128, $38. At its all-time high, 190 billion, $57. That's huge. And then Ethereum, because Ethereum is a dinosaur that, you know, 12-second settlement time. Current $220 billion market cap, $66, 170. I think, you know, probably maybe not this cycle, next cycle definitely achievable, which will be 2027, 2028, not that long from now. 571 billion, which was top of 2021, I think, $171. So it's, yeah, it's such a good investment. So I think it's massively undervalued. I think it's fair price, or should be, based on technology there and the value at this stage. I think it probably should be more like 50 billion, which is consistent with, let's say, Polkadot. I think that's the actual real value, what it's worth now, based on tech, where it's heading. So it's 5x, $17 at least. So this was an interesting post based on this wave pattern, and you can see the channel. We've got getting to, you know, there's a bit of resistance. We'll get to, if we maintain this channel structure, to about $17 by September, and then potentially by end of 2026 it could be anywhere between $20 and $30. So that's all for SUI. Thanks for joining this call. So we'll continue posting more updates and videos like this on the SUI project, its ecosystem. There'll be new projects coming, new memes launching. We're going to cover DeFi. We're going to cover AI projects launching on SUI. There's lots coming. Any major news, so please subscribe to Tech Pulse, and this is Iskander once again. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.